Start. Honorable Speaker, Sir, I rise today to present before this august House a matter of significant national concern which has engaged the attention of citizens across diverse regions and sectors and which demands a balanced and constructive response from all sides of this parliament. The issue before us relates to the ongoing implementation of various public welfare schemes and the persistent gaps that continue to hinder the effective delivery of benefits to intended households despite the clear policy framework that the government has laid down over the past few years. It has been observed in multiple field reports that although the administrative machinery has made reasonable progress in expanding outreach, there remain pockets where beneficiaries are unable to access the services due to procedural delays, lack of proper guidance, and in some instances, due to insufficient coordination between central agencies and state authorities. It is therefore imperative that we, as representatives of the people, take note of these concerns and provide appropriate direction to ensure that the objectives of these schemes are realized with sincerity and efficiency. Speaker, sir, the government has consistently emphasized that transparency, accountability, and responsive governance are central pillars of its development strategy. Yet, ground realities reveal that certain implementing units continue to function with outdated processes that are incompatible with the contemporary expectations of fast service delivery. The House must recognize that such bottlenecks do not simply reflect administrative weaknesses but also undermine the trust that citizens place in public institutions when they approach them with genuine needs and aspirations. It is also worth noting that several members from rural constituencies have raised during committee meetings that digital systems, while transformative in many respects, have also created confusion for individuals who are not familiar with the technological interface and thus require greater on site assistance from trained staff. Members of the House will agree that a welfare system, no matter how well designed in theory, must ultimately succeed at the point of delivery where a citizen interacts directly with the system and expects timely and respectful service. Speaker, sir, we have before us the latest audit observations which caution that the rate of utilization of funds in certain mission components remain considerably below the target level, even though large allocations have been sanctioned after careful budgetary discussion in this parliament. The low utilization indicates that the administrative units concerned may not have fully absorbed the guidelines or may be facing organizational constraints that require immediate attention from supervisory authorities. It is the duty of every ministry to ensure that when this House grants financial approval, the authorized expenditure translates into visible outcomes that benefit the common public rather than resting idle in departmental accounts without productive use. The committees of this House have already recommended that periodic reviews must be tightened and that officers responsible for persistent delays should be answerable for the same so that there is sense of discipline and urgency in the system. Speaker Sir, I would also like to draw attention to the ongoing debate on the need for greater decentralization of decision making powers with certain flagship programs. Members have noted that local bodies are often aware of the precise needs of their communities, yet they do not always receive timely administrative clearance to undertake necessary measures. This results in avoidable delays which could have been resolved if district level committees had been permitted to exercise well defined authority in routine matters without waiting for higher level sanctions. We must therefore collectively examine whether some procedural reforms can be introduced to enable smoother functioning of local institutions while maintaining appropriate oversight and accountability. A dynamic governance structure must empower grassroots agencies and not restrict them with layers of approval that slow down genuine developmental work. Speaker Sir, the House must also acknowledge that while financial resources are essential for any program, the human resource capacity of implementing departments is equally significant. Several districts have reported shortages of trained staff, which leads to excessive workload on existing personnel and consequently affects the quality of service delivery. It is important that we encourage regular training modules, performance based assessments, and clear career progression pathways so that public servants remain motivated to execute their duties effectively. At the same time, we must also ensure that grievances raised by citizens are addressed within a defined time frame. Failure to respond promptly not only frustrates the applicant but also weakens the credibility of the very system meant to support them. Speaker Sir, while discussing administrative challenges, it is equally important to highlight the notable achievements that many departments have secured in the recent period. There are numerous examples where local officers have shown remarkable dedication and have implemented programs with exceptional precision and integrity, resulting in substantial improvement in living conditions of several regions. The House must commend such officers whose commitment reflects the true spirit of public service. It is our responsibility to ensure that their efforts inspire other units to strive for similar excellence, and the best practices are systematically documented and shared across states so that the benefits of successful models reach every corner of the country. Honorable members, it is crucial to emphasize that policy goals cannot be achieved in isolation.